Alright guys, welcome back to Sound Garage. This week we are diving into the topic of guitar modifications and what we think of them, what we have done, what has worked well, what has not worked well, just kind of our general thoughts on the whole thing. You know, we're a lot of differing opinions out there on keeping guitars stock or modifying them. Some guys have pickups and parts before they even get a guitar in their hands, and other guys refuse to do anything. So figure we would just kind of dive into this, talk about it a little bit, and just throw it out there. So with that being said, we were going to kind of show a few of the things we've done with some of our personal guitars, and we can go in and kind of just show some examples, what we've done, what's worked, and let's go from there. I will start off fairly simple with this guy. This is an LTD F50. Bought this probably back in 2005-ish or so. This was, I think at the time, the lowest level guitar they had. I know there's an F10 now, but I don't think they sold that back then. So I'm pretty sure this was the bottom end of the F series at the time. I bought it just because it was cheap and looked cool, and I liked the color. So my big issue with this thing being, I guess, a budget guitar was it was built like a tank. The finish is killer. I mean, this thing's been through a lot, and it's got no dents, no chips or anything on it. And everything played great on it. I loved everything about this guitar, but it sounded like total garbage. And I'm not really one of the guys who goes out and has to swap pickups on everything. You know, I've got pickups in some of my BC Riches where everybody says those are like the worst pickups on earth, and I like them. I think they work for what I do. So I'm not necessarily the one who has to swap stock pickups out, but these were just horrendously bad. So I had kind of given this thing a chance on and off over the years, and actually gave it to my dad for a while because I just hated playing it with the way it sounded. It didn't sound good through any amp that I had. And ended up getting it back and figured, okay, I'm going to give this thing another shot. And I was pretty much ready to throw it away and just kind of sell it off for dirt cheap because I just could never get this thing to sound good. So I figured, okay, now seems like a proper pickup swap opportunity to see if I can get this thing to be halfway decent. So I figured I'd give it a shot, and if it didn't, then it was going bye-bye real quick. So I opted for the Seymour Duncan Black Winter passive pickup. I've been reading about those for a little bit and figured that was a prime opportunity to throw one of those in there. And all I can say is, holy crap, what a difference this thing made. You know, this guitar went from being the bottom guitar in my collection to probably top 3 or 4 pretty quick. Really saved this thing in my eyes. You know, it's I know some guitars, swapping pickups guys are kind of disappointed, you know, that they don't get the results they were looking for. But in my particular case, coming from just a really junky, muddy pickup to something like this was incredible. You know, the Black Winter is pretty awesome. I'm a fan. I will be buying more of them. And I know they're pretty well respected around the heavy metal forums and things, so I figured that was a good shot. Threw that in here, and quite the transformation. This thing really sounds good now. It still has the neck pickup, the original neck pickup in it, which I don't really use that much, but it actually works pretty good for the little bit of clean stuff that I do. But I spend like maybe 5% of my time using that one, so it's not a big deal. But that will be getting replaced with the neck Black Winter at some point. But for somebody who's not really super anxious to be pickup swapping, this one really kind of opened my eyes to, okay, there are situations where it's just totally necessary, and this was one of them. So like I said, doing a pickup swap on this one saved this thing and kept it in my collection. So it is here to stay. Well, now it looks cool and sounds cool, so that's always a good thing. Down the road, I'm probably really not looking to do too much more to this thing. It plays great. I might swap the nut on it at some point, just because the next guitar I'll show you kind of got me thinking about that. But tuning stability and all that stuff for being a cheap guitar is really pretty good, so I have no complaints other than it sounded like total garbage. But I fixed that with the that Black Winter, so that was kind of a win-win for me on that one. And we'll jump over here The next guy up is probably another great candidate for Black Winters. This is a Jackson JS22-7, really cheap budget 7-string guitar, but also again very, I think, well regarded, at least on the metal forums and things, for a really good entry level 7-string, and just kind of a really good mod platform in general. These things are actually pretty great for $200 guitars. And, again, first thing people always bring up is pickups, but there's a lot of guys out there that argue that these pickups are actually not that bad. I am one of those people. I think for being a $200 guitar, these pickups are pretty solid, and they're not the best things I've ever played, but they're definitely not the worst things I've ever played either. I'm really not in a hurry to swap them out, but they probably will get pulled at some point. But this thing, what I've done, the other big complaint people have with these is the tuning stability, and I agree with that 100%. A lot of people go straight for changing the tuners out. I kind of took a different route and swapped the saddles and the nut on this one, and so I went with the Hipshot saddles. I didn't change the whole bridge. I just did the saddles, the stainless saddles. Figured since I had the chance, get a cool little color scheme going. And then, I know it's not much to look at, but this is actually one of those Graphtech Nuts. Swapped that out, and the two changes with that really did an amazing change for the tunability of this thing. The stability is much better, even with the so-called crappy tuners on this thing. It's a lot better than it was. I think the tuners still need to get addressed at some point, but it's not as urgent now. And with that being said, this thing plays really nice. It played good before, but it really just kind of sings now with this new upgraded stuff on it. So these were both really cheap upgrades. The Nut's like $13, and it needed no modification whatsoever. I measured it up before I ordered it. Ordered the closest one, which was like almost dead on, and knocked the old one off, put the new one in. String height and everything was really good, and I don't need to file or anything. I mean, it just dropped right in. So kudos to Graphtech for making pretty much a spot-on nut for this thing. And that's why I was saying with the F50, I'm probably going to be replacing that one at some point as well, just because it was such a cheap, easy modification, and it does make a nice difference with the tuning stability and not getting that little ping when you're tuning and the strings binding up in the nut. And with that being said, like I said, I'm pretty happy with this thing right now, but I think just out of curiosity and not being able to leave anything alone, this will probably get a set of pickups in it sooner than later, and some tuners. But, again, after that, you're still probably way ahead of the game for what you're going to pay for one of these things, especially if you buy it used and start using it as like a modification platform. You can't beat it, and they play pretty good. So that's kind of really all I got. I'm definitely going to be exploring more of the nut changes on some of my other guitars. I think some of the older BC Riches are probably going to get some of those Graphtech Nuts too, just because I'm super impressed with the improvement a $13 part made. So.
yeah, I think a lot of people they really don't everyone gravitates, I think, first towards the pickups, but I like the saddle and the nut that you did, because that connection point, just upgrading those little parts to better materials, really affects the sound of the guitar too.
Right. It's right. I think you hit it right on the head. Those are the only 2 points the strings are being, your active length of string is being supported by, so that does make a big difference, and it's not the thing you think about. Excuse me. I think it's, pickups and tuners are kind of like those, like the cool guy sexy parts to buy, because everybody knows, oh man, I bought EMGs or bare knuckles or whatever, and it's it's cool and they're all good, but the saddles and nuts are not really anything anybody can look at and go, oh cool, that guy's got a Graphtech nut. That's nobody really gets excited about that. But
exactly.
But it does make a huge difference.
Exactly. Yeah, that kind of stuff does make a huge difference, especially when you're talking about modifying a cheaper guitar, right? So something that is, you paid $100, $200 for. Most likely those have like really cheap plastic nuts. So just that little $13 fix can really make a huge difference. And then same thing with the saddles or the bridges. Those are probably going to be utilizing a lot cheaper type of quality of alloy, and if you get something that's real nice nickel or brass, that's gonna really change the sound and the tonal quality of that guitar.
Yeah, exactly right. And actually, that's a good point you brought up too with the Jackson. I wouldn't say it was a really overly dark sounding guitar, but with those two, the nut and the saddles upgraded together, it did get a lot brighter sounding. So I thought that was kind of interesting. So that's probably the first guitar I've owned where I can legitimately say, oh, that's what a bright guitar sounds like now. I get it now.
Good stuff. All right, so I guess I'll jump over on mine. So I have a lot of project guitars. I'm only going to show one of them right now, and none of my project guitars are actually completed or in a playable state. That's
why they're projects.
I have a tendency to rip them apart and then have these great ideas, and then I'm forever fixing them up. But the one I'm going to show off right now is the EC. So this is my EC 401. This is an awesome guitar for the money. It is. Out of the box, I really had no complaints. It probably didn't need to be modified, but the itch for me to modify things is never ending. So I certainly started on this one. So one of the first things I did on this one was actually changing the pickups, and I've actually changed the pickups twice. So originally, I think in one of our prior videos, you probably saw me playing this, and it had the white Fishman modern pickups. Active pickups in it, and I've since changed those out to the Keith Merrow Signature Series pickups. One of the reasons I originally wanted to go to the white pickup just because it was a white guitar and I wanted to do white on white, but lo and behold, there's different shades of white. So the extreme white of the Fluence pickups with the off white of the guitar just kind of bothered me a whole lot. Also, my original plans with the guitar was to completely refinish it actually and do the blood splatter thing, but that was kind of when blood splatter was first coming out, and now you see blood splatter everywhere on Instagram, and I kind of started gravitating more towards the classic look, so that kind of changed my whole design concept. So, but anyways, I'll get to that in a little bit. But so after I did the pickups, the next thing I did was I actually sanded down the neck. And no, this was not done to try to make it look like it was a distressed guitar. I did that because I actually like the feel of a natural neck, and the lacquer's cool and all, but I just didn't like the feel how your hand always gets stuck, especially when your hands get sweaty on the lacquer. So I basically sanded it down and with a 250 grit sandpaper, and that little modification just made the neck so much smoother and easier to play, and it's pretty simple to do. Basically, you just have to be careful. You're not really changing the shape of the neck because I love the shape of this guitar neck, but you just sand it down until you start seeing the wood grain come through, and then you're about as far as you want to go.
And that's free if you're willing to do it. So.
Yeah, exactly right. It's absolutely free. It's just a little bit of work, and the other thing is you just want to make sure you're cognizant of how much heat you're putting in the neck. So you want to make sure that the heat gets, as you're doing it evenly over the neck, so you don't mess up the wood or twist anything. But yeah, super simple modification, and it changed the playability of the neck quite a bit. So if anyone out there has lacquered necks and you really don't like that stickiness, sand it down. It makes it so much better. And then from there, really now it's just kind of cosmetic stuff that I'm working on the guitar. So as you can see, I got the bridges off, but the idea that I'm going with is I want to go with a kind of got a gold tailpiece here, but I'm going for the classic black and gold. But instead of changing, nice. I'm not sure yet. We'll see. I don't think I'm actually going to change the pins out to be gold. So I'm going to go with kind of a mixture of black and gold hardware. And then
be cool.
For the tuners, I'm looking at getting shallower locking tuners. Spurzal locking tuners. Because with Spurzals, you can actually custom make them. So I'm thinking something along the lines of with a gold pin, but then have black components as well. So even the tuners will be kind of following that black and gold theme. So that's...
You can mix and match within the assembly of a single tuner, right? Like the individual components of a tuner.
Absolutely. So I don't know if you're going to be able to see this on this, but components of a tuner, You have your actual backing plate right here, and then the actual pins and the heads. So with the Spertzel, you can custom make, and they do custom orders as small as like just one set of tuners, and they'll do it for you. But yeah, you can kind of color match to whatever, mix and match to whatever you want to do. So it's kind of a cool feature. I think last time I bought some Spertzel tuners, maybe it was about a 2-month lead time for production, and then I got them. So pretty.
That's not bad.
Yeah, not bad at all, especially for custom.
For custom, yeah.
Custom small batch, like that's awesome. So and surprisingly not as expensive as you would think. They were actually quite affordable, comparable to any other off-the-shelf tuners that you would buy. So when you're paying about the same price, why not get something a little more custom? So that's kind of the idea with the EC there. And then obviously I'll just kind of talk about some of the other ones I have. As Mike knows, I have a lot of guitars that I've completely torn apart. So I have a Viper. This was a super cheap. This was a Viper 10. And I've ripped the neck off of it now, and I'm actually going to try to remake a whole new neck for it. Same thing with my Jackson Dinky. The neck on the Jackson Dinky, the truss rod or something was just not installed right. So it has this weird S shape, and you can never fully straighten the neck out without creating issues. So again, I had to rip the neck off that one, and I am trying to build a replacement neck for that one as well. So those are much longer term projects, but yeah, I certainly like to dive into just ripping things apart. The problem is getting it all put back together again so it's playable. So
part of the fun, right?
Yeah, I mean that's right. So I mean, like both you and I were both car guys, right? And we kind of came up with the hot rodding realm. So with me and cars, I can never keep a car stock, and it seems like it's the same thing with guitars.
Yeah, exactly. And it's same thing for me. I mean, I was one of those guys who I hadn't modified. I've been playing guitar for almost 20 years, never modified anything, short of just replacing stuff that broke. But once I kind of opened up that Pandora's box of modification of, oh hey, this is not that hard and it's really awesome. I've been just kind of going through the entire inventory and thinking, okay, what else can I change now? So I have the bug.
Yeah, and it's so easy, right? Like especially like you start off with something simple, like hey, I'll just change the saddles and the nut, and then it just kind of grows to, oh, let's try the pickups, and then you figure that out, and you're like, oh, what else can I do with this thing?
Exactly, and that's kind of the fun of it too, is you can change out. I mean, I know guys that have had 10, 20 sets of pickups in a single guitar, just trying stuff out, which I don't really want to go there, but
yeah.
I know kind of what I like and stick to it. But I'm all for upgrading where we can upgrade.
Yeah, and I think it's actually kind of a really cool product, because then like you turn the guitar into something that's your own, right? So like you're basically making your own signature guitar, if you will, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And while like these guitars will probably have absolutely zero resale value because you completely ripped into them. At the same time, I think the journey of actually building it and doing it kind of builds up a closer connection to that guitar.
Oh, for sure.
For a longer period of time. So I don't know. I think it's a pretty cool product, and anyone out there that's been thinking about it, or I just do it. It's a great project.
Yeah, and it's I know it's been said before, but anything you can do that will make you play more is the right thing to do, right? So, some people don't see the value in putting $200 into a $200 guitar, but at the same time, if you're going to play that thing 5 times more than you would if it was a stock $200 guitar, then to me that's worth every penny. Like I said, that like the F50 is a perfect example. I was ready to literally light that thing on fire, just let it burn for firewood. And I just never ever wanted to play it, and then just doing a pickup swap, and it became one of my favorite guitars. The thing's just got a monster tone now, so. It could just be something, quick little changes, or quick little modifications or something like that, and it's all of a sudden you have a whole new outlook on a guitar.
Absolutely. I will say I think the one thing for anyone that's looking to do something like this is, especially depending on your skill level, is make sure that the guitar that you're using as your bass has good fretwork, because that is one of the things that I think the general hobbyist isn't going to be able to really fix the frets or any neck issues. So stick with, like, as long as you have a functional neck, you have good intonation, the fret scale lengths are good, and the frets feel good, the fretboard's good. Start there, because that's really hard to fix. But everything else between, like, the saddles, the pickups, the tuners, finishes, that's all easy to modify, and that's something that you can do on your own.
Totally agree.
So I think that's about all we have for today, right?
Yeah, I think so. I'm sure we'll have more of this as it goes, but just kind of a quick little intro to some of our modified guitars, and as things come along and Eugene knocks out some of his projects, we'll be showing you more of those as they get finished up, and
if they ever get finished,
ripping into more of mine. We'll cut it off there, and if you guys have any thoughts or comments of your own for or against what we're talking about, we love to hear it. We're always open for conversations. We know guys on both sides of the fence, and there is no right answer or wrong answer. It's all just, if you're cool with it and you're happy and you're playing, then that's the main thing. So go ahead, leave some comments if you want to get involved in the conversation. If there's anything you want to see us talk about in the future, we are open for that as well. So, let us know. Thanks for checking us out. We are Sound Garage, and we will be back next week with a new video. So check us out. Thanks, guys.